we get this right today, hope it will squeeze some of those shorts. Squeeze them hard. Not that I want to hurt them. Don't get that, please, because that's just not who I am. I am soft, I'm lovable. But what I really want to do is I want to reach in, rip out their heart, and eat it before they die.
Okay, there are two parts. Of course, when I hear short sellers attacking what I believe is clearly the most important software company in America, and therefore in the world in terms of our impact, simply to make money, and trying to call the AI revolution into question, where we have this anomalous numbers, 114, rule of 40, et cetera. It just is super triggering because these people, they could pick on any company in the world. They have to pick on the one that actually helps people, that actually has made money for the average person, that is actually supporting our warfighters. Why do they have to go after us? And I'll tell you what, it's crazy motivating, because I'll tell you why the short sellers are constantly getting screwed by Palantir. Because every time they short us, we just are like tripling down on getting the better numbers, and part, honestly, to make them poorer. So, and then, by the way, with the shorts, it's very complex. It's not even clear that, honestly, I think what is going on here is market manipulation. We delivered the best results anyone's ever seen. It's not even clear he's not doing this to get out of his position. I mean, these people, they claim to be ethical, but, they're actually shorting one of the great businesses of the world. And I'm not against shorting as a matter of theory, but I'm just saying, pick something that is not doing a noble task, and, it's us against them, and that's a good position for us.
All right. Today's Wednesday, November 5th, and this is a recap for the stock market activities today. And folks, I got a good one for you tonight. And boy, oh boy. My favorite headline of the year is this one. And it reads, "Why stocks are up? ? Nobody knows." Well, if nobody knows, why the hell are they buying? And right there, you realize that we are in the most speculative bubble in history, and we're probably at the last inning of this bubble. It's not the beginning, as many try to suggest, because the rise of the stock market this year was not a result of the fundamentals or valuations or corporate earnings either. The reason behind the surge in the stock market this year is psychological in nature. What do I mean by that? When stocks went down because of the tariff fiasco earlier this year, a lot of folks who have not participated in the market in the last couple of years, they've been seeing and hearing their friends, some family members, people they know, bragging about their stock market gains are up 20%, up 50%, whatever ticker they throw at you. And a lot of folks were on the sidelines feeling missing out. And once we got that flush down, immediately began the urge and the desire to say, okay, this is it. We've missed it before. This is our time to hop in. And of course, it was a little bit scary because of the tariff situation. So they had to wait a little bit after the market bottomed and began to rebound and move higher again, until, let's say, around July in the summer, when they began pouring a lot of their money in just buying the stuff that has been working in the last couple of years, the AI stuff, regardless of the valuations, regardless of the fundamentals, regardless of everything, really, even the macroeconomic situations that they live in and know. In other words, it's all about FOMO. And the question was, at what point does the market wake up to the reality of the divorce between the price action and the valuations, the fundamentals, and the prospects at the end of the day for this AI mania that we're seeing? And yesterday we got somewhat of a wake-up call because a certain famous short investor made a comeback, warning about valuations with a massive bet. Shall we call it the Big Short 2.0? And folks, let's begin the conversation right here. And here it is, in focus tonight. The Big Short, Michael Burry, is back. and he's back with vengeance this time. Yesterday, we got the news that the big short, Michael Burry, who famously, of course, shorted the real estate bubble back in 2007 and benefited from the crash that followed thereafter. He's been, of course, warning about this bubble for years, but he's been ignored. He's been called wrong and a broken clock and yada yada because, again, we have this psychological phenomenon where they keep saying, oh, the doomsayers, the skeptics about this bubble are wrong and whatnot, but they're so insecure about it because they know deep down that the skeptics are right. So Michael Burry did what a lot of us have been doing. Okay, no need for us to talk to you at all. You do what you want to do, and then when the shit hits the fan, maybe we'll just refer you back to old videos so you can get your explanation of what's going on. But there's no need to talk to you at all. And the big short Michael Burry disappeared until yesterday when he made a comeback, and we've seen the 13F filing where he has a massive short position using put options against two companies, Palantir and Nvidia. Now, we've talked numerous times about Nvidia and how the bubble is going to pop, led by Nvidia at the end of the day. You can refer back to these videos, but his short against Palantir is what captured the attention because it was bigger than the short against Nvidia. And of course, immediately, the low-life CEO of Palantir came out attacking Michael Burry, calling him batshit crazy. And he began defending his company and attacking the shorts just like Lehman's CEO back before the crash in 2008. And I apologize in advance to have to subject you to listen to this reptile again, because he's obviously coked up in like 8 o'clock in the morning, fidgeting and twitching and going nuts on TV. But we need to hear what he has to say and then dissect 3 important points that he talks about, and give you my take on it. Let's take a listen.
Okay, there are 2 parts. Of course, when I hear short sellers attacking what I believe is clearly the most important software company in America, and therefore in the world in terms of our impact, simply to make money, and trying to call the AI revolution into question, where we have this anomalous numbers, 114, rule of 40, et cetera. It just is super triggering because these people, they could pick on any company in the world. They have to pick on the one that actually helps people, that actually has made money for the average person, that is actually supporting our warfighters. Why do they have to go after us? And I'll tell you what, though, it's crazy motivating, because I'll tell you why the short sellers are constantly getting screwed by Palantir. Because every time they short us, we just are like tripling down on getting the better numbers, and part, honestly, to make them poorer. But okay, so the question of the actual power of the business and what is it worth. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things that is actually in the book, the biography, and that I actually think you always have to ask is the person persuasive or are they right? And across all sorts of movements, political, I mean, you see this on the regressive part of the Democratic Party. We're about to probably have a complete disaster. I was born in New York. But if you actually said, do these things actually work? Everyone's like, of course I'm not going to vote for that. But instead they ask, does it work in theory? The theoreticians, you have to ask, how often have you been right? And Palantir is about pragmatic decisions that create unfair advantages for America and its allies. And on that, we've been right for almost 20 years on all major decisions, and I believe we'll be right going forward. Now, you could argue, I don't know, they're constantly but they thought Palantir was overvalued at 10. They thought it was overvalued at 20. I'm not even here saying what the valuation is. I'm just saying, find a company in the world that has a rule of 114, that has U.S. commercial growing at 121%, that aggregate growth in the U.S. is 77%, that has throwing off free cash flow in a way that's anomalous, and that is fully aligned with our customers. And you figure out the value, but they're in the business of being skeptical and being wrong, and we're in the business of giving an unfair advantage to American workers, American warfighters, and our investors.
So I got 3 points I want to comment on from Alex Karp's commentary. Number 1, he says that the shorts are skeptics on AI. They don't believe in this new, advanced, and promising technology. Number 2, he says that his company is a good company. Why do you want to pick against it? Number 3, he says, well, the valuation is up for grabs. I don't know what a good valuation is. So we're going to address these 3 points in this video. But before I begin, you have to understand that shorts have a critical role in any stock market. And their critical role is price discovery. When price goes too high, out of whack, the shorts bring it back to reality. And that gives a lot of investors entry opportunities without overpaying for certain stocks and certain companies. In other words, shorts provide a reality check to the market from time to time to keep the valuations intact and keep bubbles from forming. The problem is, in the US stock market, what we've done is we scared all of the shorts pretty much after the GameStop episode and all of the meme stocks and all of that. We've pretty much demonized short selling. And a lot of hedge fund managers, a lot of shorts pretty much stopped doing this practice. And the result is the insanity of the bubble that we see right now. Look no further than foreign markets, where we've seen cycles of booms and busts. The Chinese stock market, for example, where they banned shorts. In the early 2000s, the stock market crashed by over 70%, and it has yet to recover the highs from those years. You look at the Saudi Arabian stock market back in the early 2000s. Again, no shorts, no regulations, and we see the stock market going bananas, moving as high as 1,000%, and then crashing down by about 80%, and it never recovered the highs from that mania. And there's a lot of pain with these episodes, by the way. A lot of folks begin to chase, especially at the end of these bubbles, when FOMO becomes the primary driver for investing. And at the end of the day, when the crash happens, a lot of folks feel a lot of pain. They lose their retirement money. They borrowed money from family, from retirement funds, and they lose it, and they never recover it. So there's a lot of pain with that, and shorts play a critical role in making sure the bubbles don't form in markets. But as I said before, here we've demonized short selling so much that the shorts are now pretty much out of the market. And what happened is this. You look at the Shiller PE ratio in the past 100 years. The valuations right now is at the highs that we've ever seen, only surpassed by the 2021 Mania, which was followed by a bear market in the year 22. And a lot of stocks crashed and never recovered. We're now trading at territory in terms of valuations that surpasses the bubbles in 2008, in the dot-com mania, and even prior to the crash in 1929. Why are the valuations so stretched when you have, if you look at another valuation metrics, the Cape Fear, the projected 10 years annual real returns for U.S. large growth, it's actually negative. So why are we fluffing up the valuations this much? The answer is, it's FOMO. It's the public being desperate because of this inflation that we have, and they see other folks making money in the market and bragging about their gains, and they want to have a piece of that. And it becomes a dopamine rush every day where if the market, God forbid, goes down 1 or 2%, you see depression. You see folks shocked, dazed, and confused. Why is the market down? As is the market supposed to be going up every day? And when valuations are divorced from reality and the actual fundamentals of the economy and companies, these episodes can last, but at the end of the day, they always end up in tears. And the higher the market goes, the bigger the mania, the bigger the crash that comes after. And by the way, Mr. Karp, if you're listening, first of all, why don't you go fuck yourself? That's number one. Number two, you're attacking the short sellers. What is shorting? Shorting is selling shares at a certain price and then buying them back at a lower price. And you get to make the difference as profit. You're doing the same thing. Mr. Karp, you've dumped billions of dollars worth of shares of your own company, Palantir, and you continue to dump hundreds of millions of dollars even this year. So are you not a believer in Palantir? Shouldn't you be buying stock if you're coming every day on TV and hyping up the future of Palantir? You should be buying stock, not dumping. Or is this all a pyramid scheme for you where you just sit there and you do the marketing and the hyping and the pumping, and you hope that retail investors pour their hard-earned money in chasing this mania, and you keep dumping hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, making yourself richer. And at the end of the day, when the crash happens, these investors lose their money. What do you give a shit? You've already made your vig. Is that what it's all about, Mr. Cobb? But let's go back to the substance of this video here, the 3 points that I want to address from his interview. Number one, when he accuses the shorts of being skeptics on AI. No, we're not. Nobody, no bear, no, even the big short, Michael Burry, I'm sure if you talk to him, he's not really a skeptic of AI. If anything, he's probably using AI, and he's pretty bullish on the technology itself for the future. What we're bearish against, what we're picking against, is the hype and the overvaluation. By definition, because a lot of folks say, oh, shorting is un-American, you're betting against U.S. No. By definition, capitalism, what does that mean? Well, part of it is if somebody makes a mistake in terms of valuations and they hype certain assets to prices that don't make sense, then there is an opportunity to capitalize on. That opportunity is to bet against the price action, and it's going to be corrected to reality at the end of the day. So short selling is as American as apple pie at the end of the day. And just like the shorts in the 1990s and early 2000s, there were not really skeptics on the internet. Everybody knew and acknowledged that the internet is transformative technology. It's going to be the future. But the hyper speculation that happens in the early days of the introduction of any new technology is usually misguided, because you have companies pouring money and investors pouring money, betting that the first shape or the first initiative of a certain technology is going to be the final form. At the end of the day, that's not the case. And the same thing is happening in AI right now. It is transformative technology. It's going to change the way we live and how we do business and a lot of aspects of our lives. But is what we're doing right now in terms of over-investing in data centers and in chips and hoarding all of these equipment and betting it all on AGI, is that really going to be the final form of AI or the final use of AI? You look at these companies, the most valuable companies in American history, the most valuable companies in the world right now, the companies that are in every retirement portfolio, not just in the US, but globally. That's the danger. And they're spending like a drunken sailor. They're expanding their capex to levels that we've never seen before. And that's keeping the stock market up. That's keeping the GDP up. That's keeping the economy still afloat, while underneath it all, the fundamentals are absolutely horrific. Why are these companies spending so much? They're draining their cash reserves. They're getting into debt now. These used to be Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet, used to be some of the leanest companies that we've ever seen. They produce a lot of revenue with little cost, and they've been growing rapidly and benefiting a lot of retirees for many years. Why are they now spending this much, getting into debt, and damaging their own fundamentals? Are they overbetting? That's the question. And the reality is there's a lot of psychology behind it. These companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, it's monkey see, monkey do. If I don't hoard the chips from Nvidia, well, Amazon is going to do it. If I don't build the data centers, Microsoft is going to do it. If I don't hoard the servers, then Alphabet is going to do it. And maybe the company that's going to invest the most right now will be dominating in the AI war in the future. It's FOMO, it's fear. That's why they're spending all of this money to build AI, generative AI, data centers with billions and billions of dollars, and they're putting all of their eggs in one basket. We're saying that they're going to be wrong, that they're doing damage to their own companies without even knowing what the final form of this technology is going to look like, or what the final demand from the end consumer is going to look like. That's what the shorts are betting against, Mr. Carp. I mean, look at this circular financing that we see right now. There's nobody really paying for AI. The consumer is broke, and all of this spending is happening between these companies. And you can see the inner web of circular investing where Nvidia gives OpenAI an investment. OpenAI uses the cash to buy chips from Nvidia, where there's no organic creation of revenue here. You're giving them money to buy your chips and cook the books to show that as revenue, when there's no legitimate growth, organic growth. And we see it all over the place in CoreWeave and AMD and Oracle. Oracle is getting a lot of debt right now based on the promise that OpenAI is going to buy shit from them. And OpenAI is not even a public company yet. It's not proven yet. And they're losing money. So all of these companies, large companies in every retirement portfolio, are betting billions and billions and billions of dollars on this one company, OpenAI. And the reality is, even OpenAI is losing market share. It's not proven yet. It's not the final form. We're going to have competition from all over the place. And when it comes to the enterprise level, you can see that OpenAI in just 2 years lost almost half of their market share to a new company called Anthropic. And there could be many more. And at the end of the day, OpenAI could be just controlling about 10% of the market, 15% of the market, and all of this promise, all of this hype and valuation in companies like Oracle, Nvidia, Microsoft, because OpenAI is going to do this and that. At the end of the day, maybe OpenAI is not going to live up to its obligations. That's what we're betting against, Mr. Carp. And today, the big kahuna Nvidia, the CEO Jensen Huang, threw a nuclear bomb. He came out saying that China's going to win the AI race. And I told you that ahead of time, by the way. If you've been watching and following my channel, I told you that ahead of time. The pin that's going to pop the AI bubble in the US market is China. China has the lethal weapon right now to make Nvidia obsolete. They're not going to reveal it yet, They want all of these U.S. companies to continue to spend, exhaust all of their resources. They say, surprise, all of these investment, the billions, the trillions that you spent on doing this expensive AI and data centers and fancy stuff, well, we're doing it now better, but we're doing it efficiently. And DeepSeek was the appetizer. DeepSeek was the warning. The Chinese are going to catch up, and even Nvidia's CEO now admits that China's going to win the AI war. So why are we hyping up the valuation of all of these companies? We know that the Chinese are probably going to gain significant market share against these U.S. companies. And we're already questioning the narrative, by the way. Just yesterday, we got earnings from company Supermicro, which is providing a lot of servers for these data centers. The stock went down big. Its sales were down, earnings not looking good, and the stock went down by almost 10%. So the narrative is beginning to crumble. The narrative is beginning to be questioned. And when you look at who's the end consumer at the end of the day, what are they building all of these AI data centers and spending billions and billions and billions of dollars? Is AI going to do the consumption at the end of the day and buy shit from them? Of course not. It's going to be the consumer, the human consumer, that they want to fire. They call it efficiency and replace them with AI. Well, who's going to do the spending if the consumer doesn't have money and jobs anymore? And by the way, have you looked at the reality of the economy right now? What are they building all of this shit for if the consumer is looking weaker than ever? You look at U.S. consumer confidence. It is dropping like a rock right now. It's actually lower than the pre-pandemic levels, whether we're talking about view of the current economy or future expectations. If you look at wage growth, used to be rising, keeping up with inflation in the aftermath of the pandemic. Now what we see is wage growth has stalled. And for the lowest earners, they are actually falling behind. We see a lot of delinquencies all over the place, auto delinquencies, credit card delinquencies, student loan delinquencies, and now we see the delinquency rates matching the pandemic when folks were losing their jobs. The state of the consumer is not doing pretty good. Today we got earnings from McDonald's. And McDonald's is now warning that the low-income consumer is not holding in this economy. They have to lower the prices. They have to be creative with value meals, which, by the way, lowers the company's margins because the consumer can't afford it. Another warning that came out last week is from Chipotle. The company's shares been going down and it plunged hard last week because sales are collapsing. Why? Because the younger consumer, their main consumer, doesn't have the money anymore. They can't afford to go out and eat at Chipotle. They can't justify that kind of spending. If you look at the shares of CMG Chipotle, the weekly chart, it's been collapsing and it peaked in 24 and it's been going down since then. You see, a lot of economists, a lot of experts, they don't look at the price action of the stock market and make economic conclusions. And that's a big mistake. But this stock right here has been screaming for a while that the consumer is in a bad shape and stocks will move first. Then you're going to see the economic reality later, the reflection. And just after the bell today, we got a company that caters to the Gen Zers and younger consumers, Elf Beauty. Shares of that company plummeted by more than 20%. What does that say? There's a problem in the economy. There's a problem in the consumer. You look at the divergence between the S&P 500 consumer staples, these are the consumer stocks in blue, and the S&P 500 that is pretty much heavily weighted by the 5 or 6 AI stocks. There's a massive divorce here and divergence. As in to say that we have one economy where these companies are spending among each other and pushing stock market valuations higher, but the reality of the consumer is they're broke. The middle income, the lower income consumer, they're pretty much gone. And some would wonder, well, if that is the case, how come we're not in a recession? The reason behind that is the top 10% of earners do over 50% of spending in the economy. And these top earners happen to be also investors in the stock market. So they were influenced via the wealth effect, quote unquote. That means when stocks go up, they feel wealthy and they begin to spend in the economy, evident by their spending in travel, leisure, hospitality. We've seen these stocks going up. We've seen jobs in these sectors going up. So while the lower and middle-class consumer has been suffering for years under the stagflation, the economy held because the top earners, the owner class in the stock market are doing okay and they're spending. That's keeping the economy intact. They're influenced by the price action of the stock market. But now we're getting a new warning that even the affluent consumer is now beginning to feel the pain. I tweeted this yesterday. I said cruise stocks are crashing, premium airline reversing, and high-end resort hotels topping. A leading signal that even the affluent consumer is about to get effed. Look at the crash that we got in Norwegian cruises. The stock went down big by double digits in a single day. Look at a stock like Royal Caribbean. It's been heading higher as the affluent consumer booking cruises and traveling, and now it's crashing hard all of a sudden. Look at a stock like Live Nation. Concert ticket prices are absurd. Only the affluent consumer in the economy can afford them. So this stock been going up and up and up, but recently crashed hard. Ladies and gentlemen, these are all warning signs, leading indicators that even the affluent consumer is getting hit, and they're about to change their consumption habits. Look at DoorDash that we got after the bell today. The name is down over 9%. Who's spending on DoorDash, paying $50 for delivery from McDonald's? It's the rich. Rich kids in Manhattan, too lazy to go down, order from DoorDash, and who gives a shit? You're paying $50, $70 for a food delivery, they don't care. But now all of a sudden, budgets matter. Why? Because a huge component of the affluent consumer are tech workers. And with the recent news that we got from Amazon, laying off 30,000 employees, Meta is about to lay off tens of thousands of employees, UPS getting rid of 40,000 jobs, IBM, and many more companies getting rid of thousands of jobs, replacing them with AI. All of a sudden, these tech employees who are making $300,000, $400,000 a year beginning to question, am I next? Am I about to lose my job? And if that is the case, can I really afford to go on a cruise? Should I be spending on a vacation or take a loan to buy a new car or a new home? And if the affluent consumer stops doing spending, then what is the use of AI at the end of the day? Just to replace jobs? Is this what all of these companies investing in, building all of these massive data centers just to replace jobs and call it efficiency? Well, who's going to spend it if the consumer, lower income, middle income, and now the affluent consumer getting hit in this economy? So again, to wrap it up, Palantir's Alex Karp says that folks who are shorting his stock are skeptics on AI. That couldn't be further than the truth. I just explained to you that there are legitimate problems with the AI narrative and overhype. And that's what the shorts are betting against. Now, that takes us to the second point when he says, why don't you short something else? Why do you short such a good company? Is it really a good company, or is it an evil company with the blood of innocent children on its hands? We can talk about the history of Palantir, what it actually does, but I highly recommend that you listen to Whitney Webb. She's the author of One Nation Under Blackmail that investigates the Epstein saga, and it's mind-blowing when you realize that this nation is not really independent or free. It is infiltrated and it's owned and controlled by a selected few who managed to compromise our politicians, our presidents, our business leaders, and hold them under blackmail. In a nutshell, Palantir, what they do is prediction algorithms. They're going to infiltrate your social media, they're going to infiltrate your phone, your movements, your purchase history, where you shop, where you dine, and create a profile on you. And then they're going to predict, are you a security threat? Are you about to do a shooting or hurt somebody? And who knows how the hell these algorithms come to these conclusions. Next thing you know, Palantir algorithms deem you as a security threat, and you have the SWAT team knocking at your door, you're getting snatched, arrested, interrogated, and your rights, your civil liberties all violated. It's pretty much a software that creates the surveillance state, and either you're an obedient citizen who follows the rules that they give you, not the constitutional rights, or Palantir will flag you as a security threat, and now you have no rights at all. You tweet the wrong thing, goodbye. And who's going to determine what the wrong thing is? In a country where we place the freedom of speech as one of the most valuable rights that we have. And this is perhaps the most important part in all of this. Take a listen.
But it's about pre-crime. It's about predicting stuff before it happens. And that's what I think a lot of people miss about Palantir. Because a lot of people say about mass surveillance, well, I have nothing to hide. But it's not about if you're doing something wrong now or not. It's about an algorithm thinking if you will do something wrong in the future.
I think I would definitely be on that algorithm. I think you would be as well.
Well, the problem is that pre-crime has been inching along, and actually a lot of people in Epstein world, obviously Peter Thiel and Epstein had a relationship. More came out about this earlier this year after, Thiel kind of tried to minimize his ties a few months earlier. But Peter Thiel's Founders Fund co-invested in this company with Epstein and Wexner and Ehud Barak called Carbine that basically had a pre-crime component to it. And Carbine has now colonized an insane amount of 911 emergency call services systems like throughout the US. and are the main company at the forefront if this legislation in the U.S. is passed. It's called Next Generation, or NG 911, where they're going to basically federalize and centralize all 911 emergency call systems.
So again, a lot of folks would say, well, I don't have anything to worry about. I have nothing to hide. So if the government wants to use Palantir to spy on me, look at my search records online and what I post in social media, what I do in my life, that's okay because I'm not doing anything wrong. That's what you think. But then what does Palantir think? What does Alex Karp think about your behavior? What does Peter Thiel think about your behavior? That's what's going to dictate whether you're a good person or a bad person in the eyes of this AI technology from Palantir. In essence, it is designed to destroy the constitutional rights and the civil liberties in this country and change it into a police state where the citizens are intimidated to be under good behavior, quote unquote, or else. And the way they do it is they divide us. So right now we have a Republican administration. So what they do is they say, oh, our Palantir algorithms are just used to catch the terrorists and the bad guys, the Antifa, whatever. But don't forget that under the previous administration, they called school parents terrorists. So if they abuse one side of the population, they'll abuse you too. It's just a matter of time. So is that really a good company? I don't think so. Furthermore, she brings up the point of Peter Thiel, one of the founders of Palantir, pretty much being blackmailed in the Epstein saga. And that is evident because when he's confronted that, hey, you guys at Palantir sold software technology and AI technology to the Israeli military, who used that technology to kill innocent children. When he's confronted with these kind of facts, all of a sudden Peter Thiel just malfunctions. Take a look.
Look, I'm not, without going into all the I'm not on top of all the details of what's going on in Israel because my bias is to defer to Israel. It's not for us to second guess everything, and I believe that broadly the IDF gets to decide what it wants to do, and that they're broadly in the right, and that's sort of the perspective I come back to.
And honestly, every time I see him, he's sweating bullets. The guy sweats profusely. There is no harder worker than Peter Thiel's sweat glands. But you know what I think? I think this guy's not a human being. I mean, he doesn't look like a human being. He looks like a reptile, a lizard, and he's using a wax human being mask. That's why he keeps sweating and melting all the time. So look, I tweeted this and I said that shorting Palantir, number one, is patriotic. This is a company with the ultimate goal of turning America into a mass surveillance state. And again, I highly recommend, even if you disagree with me, even if you think that Palantir is a good company and it's good for our national security and Alex Karp is actually a good human being and Peter Thiel just wants our best interest at the end of the day, even if you believe all of that, do yourself a favor. Every American citizen needs to do this and listen to Whitney Webb talking about Palantir. Just take a listen and then do whatever you want to do, whatever opinion you got after that, but at least know some of the facts. Number two, I say that shorting Palantir is humanist for all of the innocent kids that Palantir helped to slaughter. Now, are the shorts really shorting Palantir or any other company because of these values? That, oh, I want to be patriotic, I hate what they're doing to our constitutional rights, or I hate what they've done in foreign wars? Not really. I mean, maybe if you have billions of dollars, you don't mind losing billions or millions of dollars just to make a point. Sure, maybe you'll short because of these values. But these are cherry on top. That if I get into a short in a company that is evil like this one, and I get it right, and the company's stock crashes, then that's just a cherry on top. But at the end of the day, shorts enter these positions based on fundamental reasons. And that leads us to the third point I want to address from the interview with Alex Karp. He says that the company is doing pretty good, and they said that Palantir is overvalued when it was at $10, and they said it's overvalued when it was $50, and now they say it's overvalued. I don't know how to value the company, but you heard what he said. So let's talk about valuations, because that's one of the reasons why shorts enter these positions. It's not because they hate the company or they don't believe in AI. Palantir provided this. They reported earnings this week, and you can see that the quarterly revenue growth year on year is impressive. The company went from a 30% rate of growth in revenue in Q3 24 to the latest quarter a year later, 63% rate of growth in revenue year on year. Nobody's questioning the growth of Palantir. Of course, listen to Whitney Webb. Palantir CEOs, the Palantir Mafia, Peter Thiel, all right now have huge influence in the Trump administration. and they're convincing the government to do contracts with Palantir, and that's causing the revenue to explode higher. What is the problem then? The problem is the stock performance right now and valuation reflecting this growth or exceeding it based on psychological hype and stampede by investors just to chase the price action. Well, how do we know that? You got to remember that in a regular stock market, the performance of a stock is reflective of the growth of the company. So if you are a growth investor, you want to look at the growth in revenue. So if a company does in a year a revenue growth of 40%, the stock should be reflecting that by moving up 40%. Maybe you add a little bit of a premium on top of that, the stock goes up by 50%. Now, in companies that are not growth companies, established companies, you measure the profitability. If the profitability of the company goes 6% in a given year, the stock should reflect that and go up 6%, maybe add a little bit of premium. It goes up 8-10% to reflect that. That's how the stock market works. What happened in Palantir, though, is the revenue growth, if you look from Q4 all the way to the recent quarter, the revenue growth went up by 42.63% from the beginning of the year to the point where we are today. But the company's valuation, aka the stock price, went up by 172.32%. Why do we see this gap? If the stock was up by 40%, 50%, 60% year to date, we would have said, okay, it's reasonably priced because who knows, in Q4, maybe they're going to do a higher growth rate. And all in all, for the year, the growth rate for Palantir sales will be 50%, so it's okay for the stock to go up by 60%. But going up by 172%? What is the reason behind that? You look at the valuation of the company, $452 billion. Meanwhile, the revenue that they're producing right now in the 12th trailing month is only $3.9 billion. There are companies that produce $50 billion worth of revenue, and they're not even valued at half of the valuation of Palantir. So what is the reason behind the excessive stock performance by Palantir, the excessive expansion of the valuation? It comes down to this. I said many so-called financial influencers and YouTubers are sponsored by Palantir and the deep state mafia. Watch out how desperate they're going to be today, urging you to buy the dip. In a nutshell, and we made a video about this last year, Palantir is a marketing scheme. You've seen the ads in the Journal, you've seen the ads in the Super Bowl, in the stadium, and they pay all of these influencers on YouTube, on Twitter. Anybody who's pumping Palantir and the retail investors is paid by Palantir. And their job is to recruit more and more retail investors to chase the price action. And in the short run, that works out. You have more buyers than sellers, the price goes up. And then as the price goes up, these influencers become more popular. And they're getting paid by Palantir, so they keep recruiting more. Look at what we've done. I'm up 70%, I'm up 100% in my shares. There's still more to come. And their job is just to get more and more investors, retail investors' money to be poured in Palantir when the valuation doesn't make sense anymore. Like I said, if the stock was up 50%, 60%, I would say, okay, it makes sense. It's fairly valued. But as it stands right now, it doesn't make sense at all. And that's what the shorts are betting on. This is a pyramid scheme. Maybe not the company. Palantir may be a legitimate company that's going to make a lot of government contracts and oppress us all and make a lot of money. But at the end of the day, the stock of the company is a pyramid scheme. Some would argue a Ponzi scheme. You have to recruit newcomers to push the price higher, the greater fool theory, so the early investors can get paid. And they sell their shares, including Alex Carr, by the way, dumping billions of dollars in liquid cash, while new retail investors chase the price action and hope that I'm going to be like that YouTuber that I'm watching who made 100% in Palantir. The price is going to go to 1,000 now. It's stupidity, and it's wrong, and it's going to end in a disaster. That's what Michael Burry is betting against. And at the end of the day, folks, forget about Michael Burry. The greatest investor of all time, Warren Buffett. We learned this weekend that he did not buy back any stock of his own company, and he's hoarding a massive amount of cash, now sitting at $381 billion. A lot of folks want to get into the argument of the bull versus the bear. I would say we have bears in this market, not so many left. I would consider myself as the biggest bear. I consider myself as the new big short. You will hear about me later. And then we have the pigs, the greedy pigs who want to chase the price action and scoop whatever they can get. And they say, yeah, maybe it's a bubble, but we're going to exit before it crashes. Yeah, sure, good luck. But the bulls, the legitimate bulls, they're gone. When I think about bulls, the biggest bull is Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett is not chasing any of this. Warren Buffett is saying, I'm worried about what's going on. I'm going to hoard as much cash as I can. And then after the crash, I'm going to begin to scoop these assets for pennies on the dollar. Buffett is ready. So to recap this conversation, folks, the big short is back with a massive bet against Palantir and Nvidia. The CEO of Palantir doesn't like it. He accuses the shorts of being skeptical on AI. Number one, we said, no, we're not skeptical on AI. We're skeptical about the hype around AI. Palantir CEO says, we're a good company. Don't bet against us. You're not a good company. You're an evil company. Number three, he says the valuations, you said it's overvalued before. Why is it overvalued right now? I just showed you the facts and the data, that there's a huge gap between valuations and the company's fundamentals, and we're betting against that excess hype, not the fundamentals of the company. And with that, folks, that wraps up the conversation right here. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm a little spicy today. Took a lot of shots on very not-worthy people, I would say. But anyhow, the conversation continues here, folks. If you happen to be a member of the show, we got the market recap for you. I'm going to leave a link in the comment section below for the market coverage. We do the options analysis, we do the heat map analysis, we do the technical analysis. Every aspect of the market will we see. So if you happen to be a member, check it out. If you're not a member yet, I urge you to join us and watch the market coverage as part number 2 of this video. But folks, this is all I got for you for now. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I appreciate and I love all of you. I'll be talking to you again tomorrow. Good night.
The housing market is propped up on these bad loans. It's a time bomb, and I want to short it.